Hello, dear students. I hope all are doing well. My dear children, in the olden days and even now in the villages, people wake up in the morning by listening to the crow of the cock. How do you wake up in the morning? Now let us meet Ringa. Ringa, it's an alarm clock that makes a loud sound every morning to wake people up. Even I get up in the morning by listening to my alarm clock's sound. Zog has a doubt, but why can't Ringa just tell people directly to wake up? Why does it make this strange sound? Zog, Ringer is a clock. It is not a living thing. It is a non-living thing. Means it cannot walk or talk like us. Children, imagine, what if Ringer could actually walk and talk like us? What would it do and what would it say? Let me tell you, if Ringa could talk and walk like us, it could remind us of our daily routine walks, like it's time to get up, it's time to sleep, it's time to study, it's time to play, it's time to work. And it would follow us everywhere and it would remind us of everything, and so that it could help us as a best friend and a guide. How nice it would be. Now, in this lesson, we are going to read a poem about a clock that has a different way of waking people up. And the name of the poem is The Gymnastic Clock. Children, gymnastics means physical exercise. You can see the picture over here. Jumping, playing, running, doing exercise, yoga, dancing. You all can see the picture. And now let us look at the poet who has written the poem. This poem was written by Mary Caroline Davis. And after you know the meaning of gymnastic, can you guess what might be the poem about? We all have heard about the gymnastic body, that the body which is designed after working out for hours every day at the gym. We know about that. And what is this gymnastic clock? The clock which exercises? And what? Let us see. The Gymnastic Clock, written by M.C. Davis. Now I'm going to read the poem. Listen carefully. The little clock is friends with me. It talks as plain can be, and says each morning as it rises, now don't forget your exercises. Both hands above your head, then lower them very slowly. So, don't get tired and stop. That way, I exercise like this all day. Right in its face then, I say, poof. I wouldn't boast of it like you, but I can swing my arms round too. And so the clock then looks at me, and I look back, and I and each single morning when we rise, just exercise and exercise. Students, after listening to the poem, do you have any first thoughts on it? What do you think the poem is about? Or what does the clock do in the poem? Now, let us analyze the poem. See the picture. Here you can see a police officer who is looking for the clues through his magnificent glass, and we call him a detective. A detective is a policeman or an investigator who looks carefully for the clues and uses them to solve the mysteries. He is an officer who works for the evidences or clues as part of solving the crimes or to find the information. Now, let us see in the same way, when we read poetry, we need to look at the poem carefully and find the clues that will help us understand the poem better, as the detective do. This is called analyzing a poem. Analyzing the poem. Let us look at one way of analyzing the poem. Poetry analysis. Part 1. Analyzing each stanza. Means analyzing every stanza. And the second one, poetry analysis part 2, analyzing the poem as a whole. Now, the part 1, let us look at it in detail. Analyze each stanza means looking at each stanza and each line carefully, then finding out or guessing the meanings of new words and thinking about what those lines mean. Now, let us analyze the first stanza. The first line, the little clock is friends with me. Here, me is referred to the person telling us this poem. This person is called the speaker. The speaker is telling us that he and the clock are friends. Now, let us look at the second line. It talks as plain can be. Here, let us look at the meaning of the word plain. Plain means in a simple way. Repeating it twice shows that the clock is talking in the simplest and clearest way possible. Now let us look at the third line, and says each morning as it rises. Here, rise means to wake up. Now let us look at the last line and the whole stanza. Now don't forget your exercises. Here we can see that the clock is reminding the poet to do his exercises in the morning. And the whole stanza, the poet or the speaker is telling us that the clock is his friend. It reminds him clearly in a simplest way that every morning to do his exercises. Children, I know what you are thinking of. A clock is a non-living thing. How is it waking up and talking in this poem? A clock is a non-living thing. How is it waking up and talking in this poem? The poet has given the clock human-like qualities in this poem. Sometimes, writers give real-life qualities to non-living things. This makes the writing more interesting and adds to the imagination of the reader. We will learn more about this style in the next lesson. Now let us analyze stanza 2. Both hands above your head, you know, Then lower them very slowly. So, ho, don't get tired and stop. That way. I exercise like this all day. Here in the second line, you can see the word so. So is sometimes used to say just like this. Here it is possible that the clock is showing how to lower the hands and telling the speaker to do the same. Now in the third line you can see the word ho. This word ho is the sound. It is a sound one makes when they are tired and breathe out hard. The clock could also be calling someone ho. Don't get tired and stop that way. Here the clock is calling someone to seek his attention by saying the word ho. Now let's see the entire stanza. The clock is telling the speaker how to move his hands for exercising and saying that the clock does this all day. Now, children, you may be thinking, how does the clock move its hands to exercise all day? We all know that the clock has two hands. One is minute hand and another one is hour hand. And the needles itself, we call them as hands. They are called the minute hand and hour hand, the two needles. And the clock, the poet says that these hands move up and down all day without stopping as they show us the time all day. Now let us analyze the stanza 3. Right in his face then I say poof. Here in the first line you can see the word face. As the poet has compared the clock to the person, here you can see face here refers to the part of the clock where we see the time. It is called face of the clock, and the needles the poet has used called them as the hands. I wouldn't boast of it like you. The next line, let's look at that. But I can swing my arms round too. Here in the second line, the word boast means to talk a lot about your own abilities or achievements. And if anybody talks like I am clever, I am genius, I am strong, I am a champion, in this way they talk and admire themselves about their abilities or achievements, and this is what we call as boasting. Here the clock is boasting of itself by saying it can swing his arms round too, and it can swing his arms up and down continuously without stopping. Here in the next slide, let us analyze the entire stanza. Here the speaker is looking at the clock and is saying that even he can swing his arms round like the clock, but he won't boast of it the way the clock does. Now, dear students, did you feel anywhere in the poem that the speaker might be a child? Let us look at the word poof. This word is very childlike. It sounds like something a child would say. This suggests that the speaker of the poem might be a child. Now let us analyze the fourth stanza. And so the clock then looks at me, and I look back, and I and he, each single morning when we rise just exercise and exercise. Now, in this stanza, the speaker and the clock, they look at each other in understanding. Every morning, both of them wake up and they exercise. Now, let us look at analyzing the poem as a whole. What is the poet trying to say through this poem? Do you agree or disagree with this message, and why? Now, what do you think the poet is trying to say through this poem? The first question to analyze the poem as a whole. Here, the poet is trying to show us the importance of exercising using an imaginative poem about a child and an alarm clock that is alive. Different people understand poetry in different ways. Some people may agree with it and some may disagree with it. What is important is that we think carefully about what the poem is trying to say and then decide what we think of it. So, in the poem, we can look at the message given by the poet, the importance of exercising to lead a healthy and joyful life by you taking use of the clock to wake up in the morning. And here the poet has wonderfully created a human-like character and nature to the alarm clock, which is talking with the poet or the speaker and helping him to stay healthy and fit. Here, dear children, do you agree or disagree with the poem? What do you think? Give reasons and write them in your notebook. And the homework for today is read the poem again and try to understand what each word, line, and stanza means. Thank you.